Morning, YouTube friends and family. I got a request for Chicago, Chi-Town. Only been there a couple times, but never for Amazon, so I'm not familiar with any of their locations up there. Let's take a look. Doesn't look like a bad market with 45 loads available, and some of them start as early as this morning at 9. So these should hopefully be not bad priced, or close to what they're going to peak out at. I mean, within an hour or two, it should be at what's the maximum they want to pay. That's just kind of how their system works. Let me turn the refresh off because it's going to confuse things. And so there's a 16, let's say it's a 1,700 mile load, $3,200. You know, a month ago I would have said that was on the cheap side. The market's been adjusting downward because there's less freight available. And so for as many miles as it is, that top one's probably a decently paid load for power only. There's another one, a couple hundred miles for almost $600. That's doable. I'm just not sure if you'd find something coming back. And they're the same thing there. Yeah, so there's two of them. They're up at $3 a mile. Again, remember, they're going to be a little bit higher than the norm because they need to ship today. They need to load like this morning. So there's a few of them going to the same place. The thing to remember when you see something like that, and there's a lot of these loads to move, there's going to be a lot of other people at the other end looking for a return trip, and there probably aren't that many return trips. So you have to consider you may end up having to grab a load going somewhere else, or deadheading back. So if you're going to consider deadheading back, you got to take that 596 and double the miles, and that's going to be your all-in miles, if you will. So keep that in mind. So here's a load going to Ohio, 340 miles at 261 is not bad at all for power only. You probably won't find you'd eat up your whole day anyways. I was going to say you probably won't find a return trip today because it's Sunday, but by the time you get there, you'd probably be out of hours or really close. So here's a round trip that needs to happen today for 10 hours at $462. I wouldn't work for $40 an hour. I mean, I wouldn't provide a truck at $40 an hour. I'd provide me, if they wanted me to go over there and work without a truck, maybe. So there's Joliet, just under $2 a mile leaving. You know, for 10 hours, $870. That's more like it. $280 a mile. This is a trailer required though, so this is more like something I would do. It's taking you further east. I'd probably do something like that because I'm not a power only. I bring my own trailer. Let's see. There's a good variety here. I mean, you know, if you don't like the rate, you don't like the rate. But these rates aren't bad, and I imagine they aren't bad because, you know, California boys like me typically don't want to go up there and deal with the cold you guys got. But you know, I just left New York State. It is what it is. I've been in the snow all week. So there's a load for 278, trailer required. there's a 10-hour load for $397. Again, that's just too cheap. By the mile, it seems good, but you have to consider your time. And so here's a load going back to California, to Stockton, at just under $2 a mile for power only on almost a 4-day. Ordinarily, I would say that's not good money, but it puts you in California where the rates are better if you grab a load coming back east. It's hard to find a decent paying load heading that way. And so if you're over the road like we are, that's not a bad way home. It's not a great way home, but it's better than a lot of load boards right now. Almost $3 a mile. Here's 460 miles going to Pennsylvania. You know, that's not bad. It's not great. The problem with Pennsylvania is, at least in Amazon, there isn't a whole lot of outbound loads from there. And so there's work here, and by the mile it seems to pay better. What you want to pay attention to is the hours they're saying it's going to take for you to do it. Because you have to also consider it's not just your by the mile. When you're looking at loads that are less than 1 day, you know, if they tell you you're making $15 a mile, you say, hey, that's great. But if you're only going, you know, 20 miles and it's going to take you 10 hours to do it, you're not making money there. So here's basically more of the really short runs. You know, there's 182 miles, you know, for $400. You know, my belief is you got to make $1,000 a day. You know, everybody has different outlooks on that. So there's a load going to Reno. Like I said a minute ago, $4,000 to go back to the East Coast or to the West Coast. That's a decent rate. You know, and this load may go up a little bit more. It doesn't load till Monday. There's a load to Indiana. There's a load to Carlisle. Now that seems really well paid. It looks like a good deal. I've been to Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and okay, not myself. I sent the driver there. The load paid great going in. We were like $350 something a mile. From, I want to say we went from Memphis to there, and yeah, we couldn't find anything coming out. So here we have, you know, almost a 10-hour day, and you're going to make, you know, $421. So think of that one as $40 an hour. There's a load going to Memphis, trailer required. It's a little cheap going there at, you know, under $2 a mile, but Memphis is a good market. You'll find something coming out. There's $327 a mile. You know, again, you think to yourself, hey, $327, 117 miles, that's good. But then you have to consider you're going to lose half your day at 6 hours and 13 minutes, according to them. That's if everything goes well. You know, if you could find a little short haul afterwards, that wouldn't be bad. But, you know, 6 hours, $300, you're in that $50 an hour range. There's a load going to CLT2. They're pretty bad there to get you in and out. It's just difficult with them people. And CLT2 is in the middle of nowhere. Amazon does not have any vendors in that area, and so it's a trailer required, which means you're not going to grab a power only leaving there. You're going to have to look for, if you're only going to work with Amazon, you're going to have to look for vendors in that area to have outbound, or what they call inbound loads, and you're not going to find any. Ask me how I know. You're just not going to find anything there. So here's more of a little local one. You know, if it didn't take you 19 hours, you know, look at the time right there at the very top. 19 hours is what they're saying this is going to take to make this move, and it's, you know, $250. So here's a 2-day, you could say it's a 3-day tour, as they call it. That puts you just under 1,000 a day. For power only, these loads are probably really light. I'd be on the fence with that. It doesn't book till Thursday. Maybe the price will go up a little bit more. If you could get that closer to $2 a mile, that'd be a doable one in my opinion. There's another little 40-mile move that's going to take you 10 hours to do. So if you look at that on an hourly basis, you know, you're under $40 an hour for you and your equipment. Anyway, so now with these, we're out a week. These rates, honestly, are kind of not fair to look at because they're going to adjust between then and now. At least they should. And we're at the bottom of the list anyways. And so that's what is on the regular spot market. Let's take a look and see what the contracts are, because it seems like I'm getting feedback from people saying, hey, I never knew about that. You know, how do I get into it? Again, I think they're too cheap. I wouldn't recommend you get into this. But, and if you look at this number here, I can't select it. At the very top, where it says 3209 results, that's how many contracts are available. They call these short-term contracts. Now, don't confuse that with the long-term tendered loads. The difference there is your long-term contracts, you're basically, you're going to be assigned a domicile, is how this is going to work. So, and I've not had one of these contracts. I wouldn't mind one if the price was right, but what I've been told is you get assigned to a domicile, your rate is negotiated, and it's fixed for the whole year. And so what ends up happening is they have a separate load board for those, and it looks kind of similar to these contracts. And so then you accept solo ones, which are like these 13-hour days, solo twos, which are 30 some odd hours. Basically, you put in a 12 or 13-hour shift, you do a 10-hour reset, and then another 13-hour shift, and usually that's an out and back. And so those are the kinds of contracts that your bigger companies, smaller companies have them too. They require you have at least 3 trucks. But like JB Hunt, they're on a contract like that, and don't think JB Hunt is working for the same cheap rates that you see on these short-term contracts. Those contracts are negotiated a little bit better. It's kind of why, you know, I'd be interested in one. They are paid better. If you want to talk to someone or see information on those types of contracts, check out Trucker Style Sean. He's been in Amazon now for several years. If you go check out his videos, he does a lot of these. So we just filtered. There's 90 contracts available in Chicago. You know, there's a solo one. The block rate is at $625. This one is for one driver, one tractor, you get 5 blocks. So that brings it to $3,100 a week, and it's a 4-week contract. So this is kind of how they're getting people to go cheap. If you were to take this contract, you're going to be guaranteed, $12,500. Now, when I say that number, I want to be fair to the contract. That does not include your fuel surcharge, and it does not include tolls. And so, could there be another 1,000 to 2,000 there? It depends on how much they're giving you as a fuel surcharge and how much there is in tolls in your area. I'm not familiar with Chicago, so I couldn't, speak to that. And so here's a team. Basically, you need 1 truck with 2 drivers. It's a 119-hour block, which pretty much means they're going to run you 5 days around the clock. The thing with these types of loads is they can send you anywhere. In this length of time, you can go cross-country twice. Basically, you can go from Chicago to, let's just say, Portland, Oregon, and back, and you really don't have a say-so in terms of where they're going to send you. They email you your itinerary like 24 to 48 hours before it starts. And if you reject it, it obviously counts against your performance score. So if you're going to do these types of loads, you need to have a good truck, drivers with experience. You need to have chains on the truck because you're probably going to need them. And you need to have enough change to put on the Amazon trailer because some states require that as well. So there's another team. We won't cover that again. There's another team. There's a solo one. We kind of looked at that one already. This one's a 2-week contract for 1 driver. There's another team. Let's filter it so we don't have to go through all of them. So we looked at solo 1, we looked at team. Let's look at solo 2, see if they have any. So your solo 2 pays out at $13.53. So if you divide that in half, that's what you're getting per day. And so in this particular contract, they want 2 trucks. You basically got to provide 2 trucks with 2 drivers. Your solo 2 is going to consist of, you drive out on one day, you do a 10-hour reset somewhere, and then you drive back. That's a solo 2. They want 2 trucks. They'll get each 3 blocks per week. And so your week contract for 2 trucks is $8,118. I don't like these contracts because honestly, I can do more than that with 1 truck in a week. So if I have 2 trucks, I can do $15,000 to $17,000 with 2 trucks in a week. Why would I want to do $8,000? The only upside to these Amazon contracts doing $8,000 on a weekly basis like that is the driver's home every other night. So basically the way that schedule works is you go grab your load, you stay overnight somewhere to do your 10-hour reset, you come back, you spend the night at home, and then the next morning you go out and you stay a night out and then you come back. That's like the only upside for some drivers, is that you're only away every other night. And to some that's very appealing, so they're willing to take that. And so to look at the rest of these solos, pretty much means they're going to be priced the same, I guess what I'm trying to say. The one thing that I am kind of noticing is these contracts are dating out till the middle of March, which to me says Amazon's going to keep these things. And if you're not interested in doing these types of contracts, you need to understand that it's going to affect the spot market. And if you think the spot market is slow, it's going to stay slow because it looks like Amazon is sticking with this short-term contract gig. Honestly, I think what needs to happen is drivers need to stop accepting those so cheap, so Amazon will adjust their pricing and make these more worthwhile. If these blocks on a Solo 2 was closer to, let's say, $2,000, I think it would be worth it. But I think at $1,300, you know, you're under $700 a day. I don't know how you guys pay your driver, but I pay my driver, I cover fuel. That really doesn't leave a whole lot for the truck, you know, and after you consider you need to have a little maintenance fund, it really doesn't leave a whole lot for me as the owner. And so it doesn't make sense. I'd rather work with brokers and make more money. Anyways, that's about what you have in Chicago. Surprisingly, there still are quite a few loads on the load board. That's actually a good thing. I think a part of what's helping your load board is your weather up there. You know, people like me from from Southern California, we don't consider going up into your region this time of year. You know, we want to run the I-10 corridor going back and forth between California and you know, east somewhere. To go that far north, for people like us that don't deal with that regularly, you know, we're going to avoid it, and I think that kind of protects you guys up there a little bit. Anyways, hope this helps. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your Sunday.